5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Palo Alto Network's Strata Cloud Manager Firewall Onboarding. This powerful platform allows AI-powered holistic management and operations for your network security. It allows you to manage your next-generation firewalls alongside Prisma Access deployments from a single streamlined interface. In this video, I'll walk you through the essential steps to successfully onboard your next-generation firewall to Strata Cloud Manager. So let's get started. Before we begin the actual onboarding process, there are several crucial prerequisites that you need to check off. First, you need either a Strata Cloud Manager Pro or Strata Cloud Manager Essentials license to be activated in your tenant. You can read my Strata Cloud Manager device onboarding blog post at www.mbtechtalker.com, where I discuss this in more detail. So the first thing you need to check is your firewall's PAN-OS version. It needs to be running PAN-OS 10.2.3 or later releases, and make sure that your firewall is supported. Now, at the time of creating this video, Strata Cloud Manager supports single vSys firewalls only, starting with the PA220 right up to the 7000 series, and of course the VM series software firewalls. Multi vSys firewalls are not currently supported, and a PA410 is not supported if the Enterprise DLP license is active. Crucially, you need network connectivity. You must allow specific TCP ports and FQDNs for outbound communications from the firewall. By default, the next generation firewall will use the dedicated management interface to access external services such as DNS servers, authentication servers, the Palo Alto Network's cloud delivered security services, software updates, licensing, and of course communication with Strata Cloud Manager. An alternative to using the management interface is to configure a data port, which is just a regular interface to access these services. You can change this configuration by what is referred to as a service route. I'll leave a link in the description to the Palo Alto tech document that provides all the TCP ports and FQDNs required for Strata Cloud Manager. So for the purposes of this demo, I'll be using a VM series firewall deployed using EVE-NG, where the management interface has internet access to be able to communicate with Strata Cloud Manager. This firewall is funded using software credits using a deployment profile created in my Palo Alto customer support portal. So if you want to get a better idea of how many credits you need for your firewall deployment, you can use the Palo Alto software next generation firewall credit estimator. It's pretty straightforward to use. You just choose the type of firewall that you're looking to deploy. You choose either a custom or pre-packaged option. I'm just going to stick with custom. I'm just going to specify my own requirements. How many firewalls do I need? I need one. How many virtual CPUs? I'm going to go for 4. So that's the equivalent to a VM300. Which virtual environment will the firewall be deployed in? I'm going to be choosing KVM because I'm using EVE-NG. Then we have the security subscriptions. So I'm just going to leave these ones already checked. What type of management options do we want? Well, I don't want Panorama and I don't want Panorama Log Collector. I'm going to use Strata Cloud Manager Pro, which is going to include device management and also Strata Login Service. And then the support options. So I'm just going to leave it as premium support. In the top right hand corner, you get the summary of where the credits are being spent, the performance based on the KVM environment. We're looking at threat prevention figures here. So based on the subscriptions that I've enabled, I know I'm going to get up to 3 gig of throughput per firewall. And then this is the overall estimation of how much it's going to cost in credits. So nearly 39 credits. You can save this configuration and then you can reach out to your Palo Alto Networks account manager, and then you can discuss, purchasing the credits. And once they're purchased, then you're able to get on with the deployment of your firewalls in your environment. So I already have Strata Cloud Manager and Strata Login Service activated in my Palo Alto Networks demo tenant ready for this video. However, I'll show you how I create the deployment profile and how the credits fund the firewall and Strata Cloud Manager, and the basic steps required to provision Strata Cloud Manager and Strata Login Service ready for cloud management. So now we head over to support.paloaltonetworks.com to be able to access the customer support portal. And then we're going to click on products, and then we're going to scroll down to software cloud NGFW credits. And then this will present you with a credits dashboard. If you have purchased credits, then you will see it inside this credit pool, and you'll have a ID. This will be able to show you your allocated credits and consumed credits. From here, you can create a new deployment profile. For me, it's going to be a VM series firewall. I'm going to select flexible vCPUs. This enables me to flex the capacity of the firewall up and down when required. And then we click next. Then we give it a name. So I'm just going to call it SCM Managed NGFWs. Number of firewalls is 1. Planned vCPUs is going to be 4. Security use case, you can choose any one of these, but I'm just going to click custom and then choose my own. I'm going to remove, let's say, DLP and SD-WAN. And I'm going to deselect Panorama for management and Panorama as a dedicated log collector, and then select Strata Cloud Manager Pro. If you hover over the question mark, it says this includes AI Ops, Autonomous Digital Experience Management, Strata Login Service, Cloud Identity Engine, and Cloud Config Management. Once we're happy, we create the deployment profile. And then that gets put at the bottom of all the current deployment profiles here. So as you can see, it's allocating the credits. It will reduce the credit count, and it's consumed 36.63 credits. In order to finish this process, you click Finish Setup. This will take you over to a web form, and essentially you need to fill out some details about your customer support portal. So you select your support account, the tenant that you're going to be associating Strata Cloud Manager with, the region, and also if you're provisioning Cloud Identity Engine, then you select the instance here. You simply agree to the terms and conditions, and then you activate. I'm not going to do that because I've already been through this, and this would create a new tenant, which I don't require. So that's essentially the way you configure a deployment profile and start the provisioning process for Strata Cloud Manager, Strata Login Service, and Cloud Identity Engine. If you're planning to buy physical next-generation files to be managed with Strata Cloud Manager, the process is slightly different. Once you receive the firewalls, you'll need to obtain the device serial numbers and log into the CSP and register the device and activate the support licenses. You also receive a Strata Cloud Manager activation email with a link to fill out the web form associating Strata Cloud Manager to the CSP account that the firewalls have been activated in. This will allow you to associate the firewalls with the Strata Cloud Manager. As you can see in the graphic, you will need to choose the CSP account, select the tenant where you will activate Strata Cloud Manager. If you don't have an existing tenant, you'll have the option to create a new one. And then you need to choose the region where Strata Cloud Manager will be provisioned, select the Cloud Identity Engine, or again create a new CIE instance. This is to be used to identify and verify users across your whole infrastructure. And then simply agree to the terms and conditions and then activate. Then it's just a case of sitting back and relaxing while you wait for Strata Cloud Manager, Cloud Identity Engine, and Strata Login Service to initialize, and for the status to show complete. Once all the services have been successfully provisioned, you'll be able to start onboarding the firewalls to SCM for management. Okay, so now we've got the prerequisites covered off. Let's configure the firewall itself to prepare it for cloud management. So we need to go over to EVE-NG, and I'm going to open up a console to the firewall. Then I'm going to log in. And then once logged in, we're going to need to go into configure mode and then set the static IP. So set device config system type static. Now actually set the IP address. So set device config system IP address 10.10.3.180. Set the net mask 255.255.255.0 and the default gateway 10.10.3.254. Hit return on that. Now we can set the DNS settings. So set device config system DNS setting servers primary, and then use Google 8.8.8.8, and then the secondary I'm going to use 1.1.1.1. hit return on that. Now we're going to set the NTP servers. So set device config system NTP servers primary server NTP server address, and I'm going to use a UK pool, so uk.pool.ntp.org, and then hit return on that. Set the actual time zone, so set device config system time zone, and it's going to be Europe, London. Then we're going to enable telemetry to send telemetry to SCM for the AI ops portion. So we do set device config system device telemetry region UK. One of the prerequisites to onboarding a firewall to Strata Cloud Manager is you need to enable advanced routing. Now this is actually done part of the onboarding bootstrap, but I'm just going to set it here so we can verify the settings in the web UI. So we need to do set device config setting advanced routing yes. And we also need to tell the firewall that it's going to be using SCM for configuration, so for device management. So we do set device configuration, so device config system panorama cloud service, and we can hit return on that. So that's all the configuration we're going to do in the CLI. So don't forget to commit the change. And then we just wait for that to commit the configuration. Okay, so let's head over to the firewall and verify the configuration that we just set via the CLI. So in the firewall here on the dashboard, so if we go over to device and then we look at interfaces and then we click on management, and you can see that we've got static IP, the IP address. If we go to services, we can see that we've got the DNS settings here, so the primary and secondary DNS. If we click on NTP, there's the NTP fully qualified domain there that we're using. If we take a look at telemetry, you can see the telemetry region has been set to the United Kingdom. And then if we go back to management, you can see that advanced routing has been enabled. And then finally, if we go into panorama settings, you can see that it's managed by cloud service, which is Strata Cloud Manager. So the next step is to retrieve the license keys from the license servers. So still in the device tab, we scroll down to licenses, and then we click on retrieve license keys from license server. If we refresh the browser and we log back in to the firewall, you can see that all the licenses have been applied. The next step is to go back to the dashboard, and you'll notice now the firewall has got a serial number. Now a really crucial part is to install a device certificate. So if we go back to setup And you can see here that there isn't a device certificate installed. So this is essential for authentication with the customer support portal. So what we're going to do is go over to the dashboard, and then we're going to copy the firewall's serial number, go to the customer support portal, click on products and device certificates, and then we're going to generate a one-time password. We're going to select generate one-time password for next generation firewall. Click next, paste your serial number in, press enter, and then generate OTP. Then copy to the clipboard. Then we can head back over to the firewall, go back to the device tab, and then click on get certificate, and we're going to paste in one-time password, and then we're going to click OK. We can close that. If you look into the tasks, you can see that it's fetching a device certificate. That's completed. We can close that, and then if we refresh this page, you can see now that the current device certificate is valid. So now this firewall is now prepared and ready to go, and we can start talking about the actual device onboarding to Strata Cloud Manager. Let's jump over to Strata Cloud Manager, and then we go down to settings, and then we click on device associations. This is where we can see all the firewalls that have been already associated with Strata Cloud Manager. So in this lab, I only have one firewall, which has already been associated. This happened when I created the VM series deployment profile in the customer support portal, where I chose Strata Cloud Manager as the management option. If you need to manually add a firewall, you click on add device in the right hand corner. Strata Cloud Manager reaches out to the CSP and then gets a list of all the firewalls that can be added to SCM. So at this stage, I like to create what we call labels and folders. Now, labels are used with the onboarding process and help to group devices together for ease of management. For example, zero-touch provisioning and software updates. So I'll create a new label by navigating to Workflows, Next-Generation Firewall Setup, and Device Onboarding and Device Labels. I'm going to click Add Label, and I'm just going to call this Lab Firewalls, and then click Save. So let's talk about folders. Folders are created by navigating to Workflows, NGFW Setup, and Folder Management. They're used to logically group your firewalls or deployment types like Prisma Access mobile users, remote networks, or service connections. This helps to simplify configuration management. You can create a folder that contains multiple nested folders to group firewalls and deployments that require similar configurations. Folders that are already nested can have multiple nested folders as well. However, there is one caveat. Folders for Prisma Access deployments and next-generation files are separated. It's not possible to group next-generation files in a folder with Prisma Access deployments. However, you can easily apply shared settings globally across all folders or using snippets. Now, I'll get into snippets in a later video. For now, let's create a new folder. So if I click on Add Folder, and I'm just going to call this Lab VM Series, and then just click Create. Now we can create a device onboarding rule to get everything tied together. So we stay in Workflows, but we go to Device Onboarding, and then we click Add Rule. We give the rule a name. So I'm going to call it Lab VM Series NGFW Onboarding. We select the label we created earlier, which was called Lab Firewalls. And then we select the target folder, and this was the Lab VM Series folder that we created a moment ago. And then we just hit Save. So what this is actually doing, it's saying when a firewall gets associated and gets added to cloud management, if the label has Lab Firewalls, put that firewall into the folder called Lab VM Series. Device onboard rules are designed to simplify and greatly reduce the time spent onboarding new files at scale and ensure that the correct configurations is applied to the newly onboarded firewalls. You can create multiple device onboarding rules to define different match criteria that applies to different NGFWs. Finally, we're ready to move this firewall to cloud management. So staying in the workflows and then under device management, we can see that currently there are no cloud managed devices. If we click on the available devices, we can see the VM series. And if we click it and then move to cloud management, and then we're going to choose the label that we defined earlier, and then we just click move to cloud management. As you can see, the onboard status is successful. It's applied the label. And now if we go to cloud managed devices, you can see that it's currently not connected, and it's already said that the bootstrap's done and it's out of sync. Now we just need to wait for this to communicate with the firewall and go through the steps to bring this firewall under complete cloud management. As you can see, the firewall is now connected and the bootstrap status is in progress. Now keep in mind that if you didn't manually change the firewall to use advanced routing like I did at the beginning of the video, the firewall automatically converts to logical router mode, restarts and receives the default configuration from Strata Cloud Manager. If the advanced routing engine didn't enable automatically, you might need to enable it manually like I did. That's why I tend to do it at the beginning. So I just switched over to the firewall. I'm just going to take a look at the task manager, have a look at the jobs that have been running over the last 20 minutes or so. So it looks like it started, just over 20 minutes ago when we started getting some content packages downloaded, antivirus, and there was a couple of commits from SCM, and then it finished, about 20 minutes ago. So if we go back over Strata Cloud Manager now, so we can see it's been successful. So the device is connected, the bootstrap's done, and the configuration sync status is all good. And we've got the serial number and the model number and the IP address. So before I finally wrap up this video, I just wanted to touch on configuration scope and how it relates to folders. So if I go over to Manage, Configuration, NGFW and Prisma Access, this drops us into a overview dashboard, specifically looking at configuration scope. Now the configuration scope is basically a way of selecting where you want to configure policies and which devices you want to send the configuration to. If I click on Global, you'll see a folder hierarchy with Global being at the top. So if I made a change inside the global folder, everything underneath it would receive that change. Alternatively, if I wanted to just be able to select the individual firewall, then I change the configuration scope to that firewall, then I can start making policy changes or making network changes to that specific folder. So this is very powerful. If you had a change that you wanted to make to security policies that need to be applied across your whole Palo Alto network estate, then you would apply that configuration to global. That would include Prisma Access, SASE, SD-WAN, etc. But if you only wanted to make configuration changes to firewalls or all the firewalls, then you would change the configuration scope to all firewalls and so on. So essentially this is a hierarchy. Anything the changes you make above will be disseminated down, and then you get more specific as you go down the list. So that's just a quick kind of pit stop tour of configuration scope. I will go into this in a bit more detail along with snippets, but that's as far as I wanted to take this video today. So there you have it. Those are all the key steps to successfully onboard your Palo Alto Next-Generation Firewall to Strata Cloud Manager. By following these steps, you gain the ability to manage your firewall configuration from the cloud, leverage AI-powered insights, and streamline your security operations from a single platform. So that's it, guys. I'm sure you know what to do, but if you don't, please hit that subscribe, smash that like button, and click the bell notification. Don't forget you can see all of these topics on my website at www.mbtechtalker.com. Well, that's it. I'll see you in the next video.